The only place to start tonight is last night's game, an entertaining game at St James's Park with both Newcastle and Wolves creating chances. The difference was, though, of course, that Newcastle took theirs.
And Murphy now coming onto it. Murphy, edge of the area, goes for goal. Beaten away by Jose Sarr, low down. Now Wolves look for Hwang. He might be inside the penalty area. His cross deflects off Botman. Now a shooting chance pulled wide. Gonzalo Guedes. Joelinton passes to Murphy. Isak in the middle. Blocked by Jose Sarr. Across to Murphy. Newcastle applying the pressure. Murphy on the outside. Jose Sarr with a big save. Wolves can't clear. Joelinton now for Gordon. Anthony Gordon.
Oh, what a tackle.
Last-ditch challenge from Agbadou in the box to stop Gordon, making it 1-0. Bruno's got the ball in the centre. Isak receiving it from Bruno. Great pass. Isak cuts inside. Isak just wide. Isak cuts inside. Is there a finish this time? Still Isak. Still Isak. Yes! Alexander Isak with a Newcastle United record of scoring in 8 consecutive Premier League matches. And it's Newcastle United 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Gomez gets there, cuts it back, Strand Larsen hits the outside of the post. Hall clips it in, flicked across the box. Tonali deflected and wide. It's come to Bruno. Bruno Guimaraes. Anthony Gordon.
Oh dear.
Deflection and over the top. Murphy to Bruno. Through for Isak. Alexander Isak has scored. So simple. It's Newcastle United 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Joelinton ball in behind. Alexander Isak for the hat-trick. What's he got this time? Gordon! Isak with the assist, laying on the third goal for Anthony Gordon. Here's the corner from Mateus Cunha, scooped in, and it's in the 6-yard box where it's stabbed in by Wolves, who have a goal back. The free kick into the corner to Aït-Nouri, and here's a big chance onto the bar. Strand Larsen off Dubravka and off the underside of the crossbar.
It was a tough game. We knew it would be. Wolves, I think, are a very good team, actually. So we knew there'd be tough nuts to crack, especially with a back five and a solid defensive shape in that first half. We had to be patient. We had to wait for our opportunities because we knew there wouldn't be necessarily a lot of them. But when they did come, we've got the man in form, we took them.
And just for clarity, that Wolves goal was disallowed. Don't worry, it wasn't reinstated again. So 3-0, it finished. Reza, a record-equalling result. He's gone again. Steve, a record-equalling result. I don't know what's happened to Reza's line there, but it was 3-0, Steve. Not maybe entirely comfortable all the way through, but a convincing scoreline.
Well, the scoreline was convincing, and it comes across. I think anybody who wasn't at the game or didn't see highlights, I suppose, would think it was a very comfortable night. And in some respects, it kind of was. But at the same time, I'm not trying to contradict myself. They had chances. You know, they had a few chances in the first half. They had one right at the end of the first half when I think the lad hits the post. They had another couple of good opportunities, but just didn't make the most of them. I thought they looked even more dangerous when the lad Cunha came on in the second half. I was actually surprised he didn't start the game because he's a good player and he caused problems. But Newcastle were clinical. A couple of chances they probably could have done a little bit better with, but when you've got somebody like Isak, he has one just before he scores, which hits the post, gets a deflection for his first goal. His second goal is a great little pick out by Guimaraes, then obviously he sets up Gordon for the third. But a good game, deserved the 3 points. You know, regardless of they had chances, but they didn't take them, and that's what it's about. You've got to take your chances. So the best team certainly won 100%. I'm
going to give Reza one more go. I think we've got him back again, and so records being broken left, right, and centre. Reza, Alexander Isak individually, and the team as well. It was a record equalling result.
Yeah, thanks for coming back to me. Sorry about the technical issues. The record books show Newcastle now 9 straight wins in all competitions, which is a sequence that equals a club record. Just a reminder that they did that in 2016 when they were in the Championship, and also in 1994 across 2 seasons. So 9 straight victories in all competitions, club record equaling result last night. In terms of the table as well, they moved above Chelsea and into 4th position. Fifth may well be enough for a Champions League place in the Premier League this year, but obviously top four definitely is. So they've cut the gap on Nottingham Forest as well, although Arsenal had a big win last night in the North London derby. So they've moved a bit closer to Liverpool at the top of the table. But just a really good night all round for Newcastle. Isak will come on to in a moment Friday with his personal achievements and the run of goals and record that he's on. But the pressure on them the further they go into this winning run. But although maybe it wasn't the most straightforward game last night with Wolves having lots of chances, they still came through it, and 3-0 is a fantastic result.
So we can hear a bit from Eddie Howe then, Razor, can't we? And yeah, he was praising the defence basically, wasn't he?
Yes, because Wolves had their moments. We heard a few minutes ago the two opportunities, particularly from Jørgen Strand Larsen, who hit the outside of the post and then had that shot that Martin Dubravka did really well to save onto the crossbar. And when Mateus Cunha came on, Wolves had an increased threat in attack. As Steve's already mentioned, he's their star man. It was a surprise that he didn't start the game, but he made a difference in the second half. Newcastle defensively recently in this winning run have been fantastic. It hasn't all been about the attacking players and the goals scored, though that's been a really exciting part of watching them recently. In the Premier League and the 6 league wins that they've had in this run, they've only conceded once. If you, of course, discount the goal that was ruled out from Wolves last night. But Eddie Howe knows that their opponents, despite losing at St James's Park, did have some opportunities and created a lot of chances.
Well, yeah, they did. Too close for my liking, especially in that last 20 minutes. I don't think we handled that part of the game as well as we did the rest of the game. So stuff to learn from and to review back. But I think generally our defensive performances lately have been very strong. I think the back four, the goalkeeper, everybody within that has played their part. I have to pick out Sandro Tonali today for his role defensively. I thought he was magnificent for us off the ball. So everyone's contributing to those clean sheets.
Yeah, what did you think of the defensive performance, Steve?
I thought it was very good. I mean, you've got the two full-backs that look to bomb on as well, so obviously they add that extra bit as well going forward. Defensively, they're pretty solid. But I did think the two centre-halves were excellent. Both Botman and Byrne. When the ball was coming up to the centre-forward, they were very, very tight to whoever it was.
Yeah.
And then on a good few occasions, they were actually nicking the ball in front of the player as well, and setting up extra bit of play. As the manager said, which I'd sort of said, I think there was one or two too many times that they had sights on goal, especially from the quick breakaways. I'm sure they'll look at that and try and adjust.
And as far as Alexander Isak is concerned, Razor, well, he just keeps on scoring, doesn't he?
Yeah, the numbers are so impressive. Never mind the way that he performs and the things that he does in the build-up play and everything he brings to the team. He is backing it all up by scoring goals, and last night laying on the third as well. So firstly, he is now the only Newcastle player to have scored in 8 consecutive Premier League matches. So that's a club record. And Alan Shearer and Joe Willock had done it in 7 consecutive Premier League appearances or games for Newcastle. Nobody had done it in 8 until Alexander Isak scored last night. In all competitions this season, he has 17 goals already. 15 of them have come in the Premier League. And you look at the form that he's been on probably since, you'd say since November, really. But 12 goals in 10 games. Or if you want to go longer term, 16 in 16. Those are absolutely incredible numbers for Alexander Isak. 2 more last night. The second one sent the goalkeeper the wrong way after a really clever ball through to him from Bruno. The first one, well, it took a big deflection on its way in. Was it definitely his?
To be fair, I'm not sure where it was going. I think it was going top in, so it should have been my goal, yeah, so I'm happy.
But it doesn't matter. You're always going to get another one. You have got another one. What about this form you're on? How are you feeling?
No, I feel amazing. I think, individually, I feel free and I feel confident. But yeah, looking at the team as well, I think we're doing so well defensively, defending our goal, and then we have threats going forward. So I think mainly it's a team thing, and obviously happy to keep contributing with goals as well.
Something you've just said there, you feel free. I know the manager earlier in the season was talking about wanting the team to be free and finish chances. Is that something that he's really hammered into the players?
I think when we play at our best, I think the players will feel free. In my position as well, I want to be kind of free, running behind, come short. I want to be able to express myself in the best way I can, and at the end it's about putting the chances away. But I think in the game I feel really, really good as well.
And it's obviously about a team that's got into the top 4 tonight, but what does it mean to you to be a Newcastle record breaker, scoring in 8 league games in a row in the top flight? Nobody's ever done that for the club before, and all the great strikers this club has had.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think records is things you enjoy after your career. I go into every game with the same mentality to score goals. I think that's the best way I can help the team. Obviously it's nice to hear about those stats, but it's nothing I really think about going into a game.
That's Alexander Isak speaking to Match of the Day's Guy Mowbray last night after his 2 goals in the win over Wolves. This is what Eddie Howe said afterwards about Isak.
Against a back 5, that there's less space for all of our attacking players, so we have to be really, really good in tight areas, and I thought we were for the majority of that first half. I mean, his first goal was a deflection, but it comes from his freedom, and he rotates out wide left, and his dribbling skills, and the second one's a brilliant finisher. But it looks easy, but it's absolutely not. So full credit to Alex and the run that he's on.
He's in absolutely phenomenal form, isn't he, Steve? What are your thoughts on Alexander Isak right now and just how good he is?
Well, I mean, there's no surprise, really. He's getting mentioned all around the place. I mean, it would take an astronomical amount of money, as far as I'm concerned, to prize him away from Newcastle. I think there'd be uproar as well if they did let him go, but I can't see it. I mean, he's absolutely adored here. They play to his strengths. He's in great form. I'm assuming he loves the life up here as well. And he just seems to be enjoying his football. As he said there, he feels free. He feels confident. He just drifts across to the left when he wants to. He can basically do whatever he wants. And he is at the moment. But the benefit is it's just freeing him up to cause problems for defenders. And obviously, with that, we've seen the result, which is he's banging the goals in.
If money was no object and you could swap Alexander Isak for any other striker on the planet right now, would you do so?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, who would you suggest that you'd bring in? I can't think of anybody at the top of my head that I would bring in instead of him.
Big Chrissy Wood, I'd say, maybe, but apart from him. From him.
I can't think. It'd be interesting.
I mean, see if anyone else. Yeah, is it
Harry Kane?
Yeah. Harry Kane, would you though? I mean, bearing in mind where they are at their respective careers, I don't know that many people would swap Isak for Kane right now. Let's see if anybody would. I think
Harry Kane's top quality, but I mean, he's what age is he now? But I mean, he still scores. But
you're asking about him now as an isolated thing, as a player who's got scores as many. Yeah.
So if you could swap now until the end of the season, would you swap for anybody else? It is a good question to put to Newcastle fans. So do get in touch.
How many Harry Kanes you give me? No.
I would probably be inclined to agree with you, Steve, but maybe there are some names out there. I mean, Mbappe plays a sort of different position, but would you a lot of people think he's the best player in the world. No, he's not. He's not. You wouldn't really want to swap him. That would be a bit of a gamble, wouldn't it? So, yeah. Can you think of any, Razor?
No. And I think on current form, there's nobody better than Alexander Isak in the Premier League. Also, beyond that, and I think he's only going to get better as well, and that's the exciting thing for Newcastle, who still have him under contract for another 3.5 years. He's their player. They love him. They want to keep him. I don't see him going anywhere. And the thought of what he could achieve personally, but also with Newcastle United as a team, is really exciting over the next few years.
Who else played well last night, Steve? Was there anybody else that stood out for you?
I thought everybody had, very solid games. Joelinton initially started off kind of giving the ball away. I think the first 3 touches that he had, but then he just went back into his normal role. I mean, he is a beast in there, let's be honest. Kimaravis played really well. I always wanted to try to link up. And Tonali, I think the manager mentioned Tonali. even right at the end, his work rate off the ball, he was bombing down the left-hand side. We lost the ball because I think Bruno had a shot, and then he tracked it all the way back to close down and to win the ball back and then play again. He's in absolutely superb form as well. The team at the moment, when you look at the team individually and collectively, that is a very, very good team. And I'm pretty sure you're going to ask me a question later on about, are they in the Premier League title race? I'm preempted. There's absolutely, I just don't think, whilst it's a tough ask, I don't think you can count them out because of the way that they're playing at the moment.
Yeah, well, certainly that's something that Alan Shearer was asked on Match of the Day. It's something that Ando was asked last night as well, and they both gave similar answers because the way Newcastle are playing, they're the form team. Yes, there's a big gap, but you can't rule out any of the chasing pack. You never know what might happen to Liverpool, and Newcastle are now part of that chasing pack. Let's move on a little bit then. Well, I mean, you've been having a look at the league table, and they are up to 4th. So just give us your thoughts before we do move on about how you think it's kind of panning out.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go as far as to say that they're in the title race because I think the gap is too big, and Liverpool have a game in hand, which is against Everton. But certainly for the top 3 positions, positions 2 and 3, you wouldn't say Newcastle are out of it at all. Now, Arsenal are 5 points ahead after their win over Spurs last night. But then you've got Nottingham Forest in 3rd, who are still having a brilliant season. But Newcastle are only 3 points behind Forest, who they play at home next month. Newcastle have a superior goal difference as well. They are hunting them down, and you would hope that they would be able to overtake them soon. They have to keep the winning run going, obviously. And then you have Chelsea, Manchester City, Aston Villa have managed to get a big result at Everton, didn't they? Despite some recent variable form. So there's lots of teams there that will hope to get into the Champions League places. And Newcastle very much in the mix, but I wouldn't agree with those who are talking about the possibility.
Playing it down. Okay. And speculation about the futures of a couple of Newcastle players as well, Reza. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, I want to start by mentioning Miguel Almiron, whose future appears to have been up in the air for, certainly since last summer, maybe even last January. Lots of rumours and possibilities for him potentially to move away. You'll remember Charlotte FC in the United States felt they had a good chance of signing him recently, but it's now his former club, Atlanta United, who are working hard to re-sign Miguel Almiron from Newcastle. Now, nothing has been confirmed yet by either club, but Almiron, who probably one of the players that you would have expected to be first out the door at Newcastle this month, because departures are more likely than incomings, could well be on his way back to the United States, to the MLS. Mm-hmm. So we'll await confirmation and more news on that. It's something we'll talk to Eddie Howe about in the morning at his next pre-match press conference. But Miguel Almiron could be going back to Atlanta United. The other interesting one over the last 48 hours has been regarding Fenerbahce in Turkey and Lloyd Kelly. They had gone on the record stating their interest in Lloyd Kelly, the Newcastle defender who was brought in on a free from Bournemouth last summer, and have tried to sign him with an offer. After the game last night, I asked Eddie Howe about the latest on Lloyd Kelly's future.
I'm not ducking the issue, Razor, but genuinely I don't know. I've not been in contact with other people that are involved in that, so I don't know.
Oh, he could have given you a hint. He'll know what's going on, surely. I mean, I guess Lloyd Kelly's not been there that long. Steve, would you be surprised if he left, even though he's not really featuring much?
Depends on what the player wants personally. If he wants to be part of a squad, which he is, and play in and out football, which he is doing, well, more out than in, a lot more out than in. Let's be honest. But does he want to go to Fenerbahce? I mean, just listening between the lines, that apparently the offer wasn't great. It was quite derogatory, the offer. But for him, and I'm assuming he's got a young family, it's a completely different new way of life. Does he want to do that? Does he want to uproot his family? I can understand him wanting to move to a club in England, but it's different altogether to move to a different country, how to adjust to that language and all the other kind of things. So even if it was a great offer, I think that would have to be seriously thought about but I cannot see that happening just yet.
Okay. Anything else for us, Razor?
Yes, a couple more things to mention. Firstly, the young Newcastle defender, 19-year-old Charlie MacArthur, who they signed from Kilmarnock a couple of years ago, has gone out on loan, and he will link up with Mike Williamson, the former Newcastle player and former Gateshead manager at Carlisle, who are struggling at the bottom of League Two. That's until the end of the season. He does have senior experience, MacArthur, from his time in Scotland, but this is his first loan move away from Newcastle United. I mentioned a few moments ago, Eddie Howe has his next pre-match press conference tomorrow morning, so hopefully we'll get updates on potential transfers out and also the fitness of the squad ahead of Saturday lunchtime's home match against Bournemouth, a 12:30 kickoff. And finally, just a reminder that I'm talking to you live from Whitley Park, next door to Newcastle's first team training ground, where at 7 o'clock, the under-18s are going to be in FA Youth Cup action. And it's a home tie, but a tough tie against Aston Villa, who are top of their league. Newcastle are 9th in theirs. There's a north and south equivalent. Villa play in the southern section. This is the 4th round of the FA Youth Cup. Newcastle reached this stage by beating Brighton 2-1 at home in round 3. Goals from Joe Brayson and Michael Mills. So this is their second FA Youth Cup tie this season. The team is managed by 2 former players who came through the academy, Chris Moore and James Marwood, who I'm sure you'll remember went on to have careers in the game. Both played for Gateshead. Marwood also went to St Mirren. Chris Moore represented a number of North East clubs and won the FA Bars with Whitley Bay. So they're in charge of the under-18s, who are playing against Aston Villa tonight. It's 7 in the FA Youth Cup at Whitley Park. You can pay on the gate, but it's cash turnstiles, £3 for adults, £1 for concessions, and it has to be settled tonight. So there could be extra time and penalties.
From Sally from Durham, who says, I was at the game last night. I have to say, I thought the referee was excellent. I don't know his name, she says. It was Darren England, wasn't it, Steve?
It was, yeah.
Yes,
I thought he had a very good game. I thought the assistants had a very good game as well. And the fourth official, bless him, his ear must have been absolutely sore, because their bench was not a good bench to deal with yesterday either.
Well, yeah, there was a booking on the bench, wasn't there? After Dan Byrne had seemed, I have to say, to have committed a foul, which wasn't
I don't think it was a foul.
Don't you? Okay. So,
no, I've rewatched it, and I have to rewatch it because obviously I did a report today, I rewatched it before I'd gone in to see the referees yesterday, and the assistant's right there. He can see it. I think it is a coming together of legs. I don't think there's any intent by Dan Byrne to foul him. The lad kicks Dan Byrne's leg, the 2 go down. He hasn't given the foul. That was the catalyst. I think that's it. We've had enough from the Wolverhampton kind of technical area. And I think straight after that, Doherty got booked as well. So there was 2 books at the same time. But I didn't think it was a foul, if I'm being honest.
Sally goes on to say, I've never known a game pass so quickly as it was so exciting. End-to-end play. A lot of it was down to the ref allowing play to go on instead of constant, unnecessary stoppages for fouls. It was a brilliant game, says Sally. He did let it go quite a lot, certainly. And this one is from William, who says, I would like to say a massive thanks to Miggy Almiron, a fantastic servant for the club, never rocks the boat, works his socks off, plays with a smile on his face, and that Champions League goal moment will never be forgotten by Toon fans, says William. Looks like Miggy Almiron could be on his way, but appreciated certainly by William, and I am sure others as well. And Mark says, I saw Tonali smile twice during last night's game. That's how well Newcastle are playing.
He must have been enjoying it, because in all fairness, he has got that look of like kind of, he's not happy. I mean, he's got a kind of, I think the sort of say it's a resting something face. And it looks as though he's got one of them. But I'm pretty sure that, he's one of these lads in the dressing room. He could be a lively one in the dressing room, but just when it comes to game time, it's game time.
Brian says, you can't be your best every game. We were average, and I don't know how we kept a clean sheet, but I will take 3-0. Some good performances, but we will have to tighten up for Bournemouth, who are unlikely to miss those lost it. Those chances. Saturday lunchtime kickoffs are often flat for performances and atmosphere, but another is vital for our momentum. We can't be the old typical Newcastle anymore, says Brian, if we want success.
I think average is very harsh. I thought they created chances because they've got good players. We're playing in the Premier League. There's no duff teams. So they are going to create chances, even when you've got the majority of play. I thought Newcastle basically dominated the game, but were open at times. And I do agree, Brighton are a different kind of test. They have got good players. I think everybody's talking about Semenyo and people like that. They will test you. And obviously they're just getting a good draw as well against Chelsea when really they should have won. I think Chelsea scored in the 95th minute. So, yeah, tough task. And I think they got beat down there as well, didn't they? So they'll want to repay that.
And nobody has yet got in touch with a striker that they would rather have anywhere in the world than Alexander Isak, which I think perhaps is proving a point, is it not? Well, there was no Fabian Schär last night playing at St James's Park against Wolves because of illness. So Sven Botman started again for Newcastle on the right side of central defence. And the 25-year-old Dutchman spoke to Razor after the 3-0 win over Wolves.
Sven Botman, thank you. It's another win, 9 in a row. It's been a good night for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Another 3 points. I know the performance has to be better, but yeah, we're definitely happy with the clean sheet and 3 points.
Wolves had some moments and some chances. How tough a game was this for you?
Yeah, definitely the second half. They came a bit more in the game, and yeah, like I said, we have to control the situations like this better. So it's something to learn from. But overall, it's a good day for us.
To equal a club record of 9 wins in a row is a significant thing. How high is the confidence among the players at the moment, because you just keep winning?
Yeah, but we know it can turn up really fast the other way. So yeah, like I said, we have to keep going and keep working hard, and yeah, looking for more.
It's great to see you back. How are you feeling physically?
Yeah, good. I have to say it was two games in 4 days was a hard task for the body, but yeah, I feel good. Feel really fit, so that's good.
And what's it like for you to play at right centre back, because we're so used to seeing you at the left in central defence, but since you've come back, you've played to the right of Dan Burn?
Yeah, it's going well. I think it's a bit different, of course. Sometimes just situations come on the right foot, but at the end, I'm happy to play again, and that's all.
Sven Botman speaking to Matthew Raisbeck after the game last night. Steve, how impressed have you been with the way that Botman has played after such a long injury layoff?
Very. But having said that, I'm not surprised in a way, because he's a good player. You do tend to think players might just need kind of just bedding in a little bit, but I think it's difficult for a defender to like kind of get minutes. You're either in or you're out. So it's a difficult one for the manager. I tell you what, the manager has got a very difficult sort of question to ask himself about who he starts when Shaw comes back, because Shaw's a very good player, hasn't done anything wrong as such. Certainly neither has Dan Burn, and I think obviously since Sven's come back, he's been excellent as well. They might look at it with Sven Botman and just sort of say, right, now is a good time just to ease you out. We don't want you to break down, because yeah, you've had a couple of games, but if we push you a little bit more, you might just get a calf injury, thigh injury, hamstring injury, something like that. But obviously that will be a discussion with the player, but also with the sort of fitness staff, with the stats and is he in the red and all that kind of stuff. So they'll have to look at that and obviously speak to the player and see how he feels. Player not 9 times out of 10 is going to say, I'm ready, I can go. But ultimately, sometimes you've got to be ruled by what the medical team is saying. I think they've got to sort of say, listen, we're just going to have to pull you out for this time. But if he is absolutely fine, then the manager has got a tough one.
Michael is on the line. He is a Newcastle fan. Good evening, Michael.
Hi, good evening, Friday. Good evening, Marco. Good evening, Steve. How are you? Hope all's well.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, tip-top. I was at the match last night. Sorry I couldn't chat to you last night when you rang me. But I've got some opinions on last night's game, and then I've been with a funeral today, and one of my cousins brought up a question that Steve will be interested in. So my views about the match last night, Tonali, I think he's fantastic. I think he cruised through the game. I think near the end, where he was they just see him defensively race back to save, to protect the lead. I thought that was fantastic. I was a little bit upset at the time because I had 2 bets on. I had Isak to score 2 goals and I had Isak to score 3 goals. So when Eddie Howe took him off, I said, no, me bet. But I understand about resting players, and I understand the Bournemouth games 12:30. You're on about Botman. I think I'm quite excited when he becomes match fit. He's going to get better and better and better. I was surprised Shaw wasn't on the bench. I was quite surprised to see Kraft back on the bench. He must have recovered from injury. I thought he had a broken shoulder. I'm wrong there, must be. Sorry, Steve, I'll let you talk now.
I don't know what the question is, to be quite honest.
There's a lot of points made there. You could pick any of them out to respond to. I guess,
here's
Steve.
a question. It'll get Mr. Howie thinking.
All right.
I was asked today, out of last night's team, who would make it in the entertainers? I think Tonali would. Maybe Isak. I've broken that here. I love the entertainers. Steve, how are you played in there? Tonali would have gotten in the entertainers, surely. How is Steve? What's your opinion?
I think it's a difficult one. I'm always going to side with my lot. I have to be honest, I am. But it's very subjective. I think, it could be split halfway. There'll be a lot of people sort of say defenders will get in the team. Some of the midfield players will get in the team. Isak would get in the team. Gordon would get in the team. I think there'd be a good few that would say that would get in their team. And that's absolutely fine. That's their opinion. I disagree. But I don't disagree with the fact that I think there's a lot of them, a very good team, but we have got some very, very good individual players.
Yeah. I think Alan Shearer needs to calm himself down. He was getting a bit carried away last night. I just think let's wait and see what happens. I'm quite happy to sneak up on the outside rails and see what happens. After the start we had, indifferent start, if they qualify the Champions League, play the tune Friday, I think that would be fun. Well done.
There you go.
Well done.
It's a shame Anders not here to be annoyed by it, but nonetheless.
Yeah, that's fine. Just wait and see. But you never know what happens. There's nothing stranger than football. See what happens. But
I think with regards to the question that I was asked, is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Can you see it? Probably not. Liverpool, listen, if they get injuries to somebody like Salah or Van Dijk, then it could go a little bit Pete-Tong. But of course it could happen. Look what Leicester did. Look at Nottingham Forest, for goodness sake.
Look what Newcastle give away.
They're having an amazing season. Yeah. Well, exactly. So it's definitely possible. But do I think it would happen? Do I think Newcastle win the league? I'm going to have to say no. But is it doable? 100%. At the start of the season, I have to be honest, I thought if Newcastle finished top 8, I thought that would be a good season. But at this moment, where they are and how they're playing, if they can keep everybody fit, I think the players as well as the fans will be disappointed if they don't get Champions League.
Yeah, you're right. Before I go, 2 things. Wolves had their chances last night. Dubravka made a hell of a save near the end when he pushed it onto the bar.
Yeah, great save.
I think he hurt himself in the process of making the save. He seemed to be limping along, and then the game fizzled out. But Dubravka made some good saves last night. He did. That lad's doing well.
We got asked the question, I think it might have been on this show. I'll ask you the same question. Yeah. When Pope is fit, who would you start?
Well, Dubravka's playing with confidence. He's got the shirt. Sorry, Nick Pope. Pavel was a Geordie. Dubravka's a Geordie. How about that one?
You would keep him in then. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much indeed for coming on this evening, Michael. Good to talk to you. Cheers. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. So, how would you answer your own question? Because he thought about it then, did Michael, and he went for Dubravka in the end.
I like Nick Pope. Actually, he's married to the daughter of one of the lads I played with, Kevin Horlock.
Okay.
And I like Nick Pope, and I think he's a very good goalkeeper. But you've got to say, since Dubravka's come in, clean sheets, pulled off some good saves. A prime example is that yesterday. It's a difficult one because I think he should keep the shirt, but you don't really want. I know sounds weird. You don't really want Pope back in because it means the goalkeeper's having a bit of a mare, and you don't want that to happen really because it means he's conceded goals or whatever. So at the moment, I think Dubravka's got the shirt, and he should keep it because he's had the chance to go away. He must have had a conversation with the manager in January, like over this last couple of weeks, because there's been talk about him leaving. There's possibility now, is he going to sign a new contract? Goalkeepers, like players, you want to play. If you're not first choice, you're basically sitting on the bench the vast majority of it all season. So the conversation I would have been interested to play a fly on the wall with that conversation. It could have been a case of, you've got the shirt, it's up to you to keep it. Are you going to stay?
And Lynn has been on about Dubravka saying, is he really staying or is he leaving? Because I noticed that he gave away some of his gear to a fan and he was clapping the crowd after yesterday's game. I think that he probably would have done that anyway, Lynn. It looks like now he's going to be staying.
Boots, all kinds. I think it was the young lad, and is it Gray, the lad at Tottenham, when they went to Tamworth? I think he gave his boots away. Does that mean he's not going to play football again?
Thanks very much for the messages that you have sent this evening. Let's do a few more on last night's game. Bill has been on. He says Alexander Isak has been vital, Steve, to our successful run, both with goals and leading the line. He's a game changer. He is fragile, though, needs to be wrapped in cotton wool. He's irreplaceable. Howe has managed Isak's minutes by using Gordon at centre-forward, which is unsatisfactory. I can't see Isak lasting the season playing every game as we compete on three fronts. We need another forward to help Isak, or we are one injury away from derailing our season as we can't rely on a fit Wilson coming back, says Bill. Are those valid concerns, Steve?
I think, we have mentioned a few times on this show that in the January transfer market, the manager should be trying to identify another striker because, if you lose Isak, then you haven't got a recognised striker. Obviously you've got Asula. Because you don't know with obviously Wilson, so they will struggle. The lad could get thrown in the deep end and he could swim, so you just don't know. But that's why the manager probably took likes of him off and Gordon and one or two others yesterday, just to try and give that little bit of break. But yeah, I can understand the concern.
And Wayne has messaged as well. What a pass by Bruno for Isak's second goal. I can't stop watching the audacity he had to caress the ball through 5 or 6 bodies to Isak's feet. Would Steve agree that it was a more competitive challenge than we've had recently, as a lot of our games were comfortable victories, but the quality by us shone through in the end? And also, is it right that Steve was part of the squad that last won 9 consecutive matches in 1994? Well, it was 11 in a row in the league, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think.
But there are a couple of cup games in the middle, so it stopped it being that's why this is a record now, because it's all competitions.
Yeah, I don't know. You're wasting your time. Listen, you asked me a question about a player that I played with, and I didn't even know who it was. So
yes,
got no chance.
So you can't remember even though it was such a successful side and you were winning game in, game out. You don't really remember the records that you broke. Not bothered. Just focusing on each game as it came, weren't you, Steve?
Yeah, pretty much. And then when it's gone, it's gone. That's the past. You try and enjoy my life now.
Aston Villa's under-18s have scored again. By the way, it's 2-0 to them. Yeah, what were you going to say, Steve? Sorry.
I can't remember what the question was about. Was it about the forward? I think it'll be interesting to see what the manager does. I do think we need another centre forward though.
So some backup, yeah. Because Wilson. He's trying to come back again from his hamstring problems, but you'd like to see somebody else brought in. There is a Sula, but it seems that Eddie Howe doesn't feel. He's getting more minutes now, and we saw him again last night. But it doesn't feel like Eddie Howe's ready to stick him in from the start if Isak was injured.
Well, in all fairness, probably not because he doesn't need to, but he might have to, But as I said, paying 12 13 million or something for the lad. It's 13 million. 13 million, you should be decent. So I've said this a few times. I didn't get it. If you're paying that amount of money for a player, I don't get the fact that he's not ready. He should be ready at that amount of money.
Terry's in Sunnyside, and Terry says, can I just say, Newcastle United, one amazing club, one amazing manager, one amazing team, one amazing striker. This has been long overdue to the most deserved fans and club in the league. I can't wait for the next match. He's happy, isn't he? Thank you for your message, Terry.